Right. I think there was an interesting point made by our guests here that, you know, the budget said more than it actually did, and the speech was much better than what it actually delivered. So you want to go off first, Mr. Kanodia? What you're in 30 seconds, perhaps?
Yeah, I thought that the finance minister made a brilliant opening remarks, which I think covered really the state of the economy, in my opinion, brilliantly. And I was expecting a lot after having heard that, but then the subsequent thing was a bit of a disappointment to me, at least.
So the two disappointments or 2 points that you were...
Well, he talked about, example, the current account deficit, which is a very, very big problem. And the total external debt India has on this account is about $365 billion, which he didn't talk about, by the way.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that there's a bigger concern than the fiscal deficit, which I thought was a brilliant statement. But then he did not do anything about it. The current deficit on account of trade on merchandise is running at about $20 billion a month, which is a huge, huge figure. And I'm sure something can be done about it. I'm not the finance minister, but there are many suggestions that I would have which can bridge this gap. And if it were not for two elements, which is the software exports of about $85 billion this year, and the remittances you get from our overseas staff, which is $75 billion, there's 160 right there, no credit to them. And if this didn't happen, we'd be really in a terrible, terrible state.
Right. Mr. Vakil, how would you see it? Real estate being your portfolio of interest?
Yes, right. Actually, more quality than quantity, in the sense that there was a lot of talk about how to improve the quality of things which you're doing.
So black money being one.
Black money being one. Coming to real estate, he talked a lot about infrastructure. That yes, he wants to build those roads, the corridors and all of that. But we need to see that commitment of $1 trillion that he talked about. How are we going to raise it? Is there a plan? And when are we going to get all of that infrastructure delivered to us?
Right.
Because I don't know how many of you have seen the McKinsey's report, which talks a lot about the infrastructure and the need for it. More so because of the urbanization that is taking place, that unless you really focus on that, it's going to be a disaster.
So, no, Dr. Kanodia, I want to come to you. You said that a budget really gives us the intent of the government. Many are saying that what is more important about this budget is what has not been said by the finance minister. So do you reckon that perhaps some of those big ticket decisions that we are likely to see might come later? Is that what corporate India is looking at this point?
Well, typically a budget in most countries, and I've lived abroad for many, many years, is really a statement of the income and expenditure of the government. That's what a budget is. In India, it has become a little more than that. I think it also gives a statement of the intent of the government in the next year. So people, all of us expect some policy statements from the government in the budget, rightly or wrongly. For example, we should have talked about widening the tax base. Now Raja Ram in his speech, or Rajan right now in his reported
economic
speech,
survey, yeah.
Raghuraji, economic survey, has said we should widen the tax base. We should increase the ratio of tax to GDP. Right now it's below 10%, and it should be at least 11. In fact, in the European countries it's 20% plus. Now there is no mention of that except the fact that it's low. Manufacturing, everyone says they should rise from 15% to 25%. But again, except for the investment allowance, there is no mention on that. Everybody talks of exports. All right, the SEZs have become land deals today. Look at China. The SEZs are hundreds of square miles.
But we seem to have passed the whole SEZ phase now, isn't it? I mean, isn't it become part of history now?
But that's unfortunate, isn't it?
Yeah. But no, I mean, to the extent that perhaps it's not revivable ever.
No. It's very revivable. I'll tell you why.
As a model.
It's very revivable. What is the SEZ? It's a labor to dollar converter. All right. We have not looked at it that way. So if SEZ is viewed in that perspective, it's a tremendous instrument. And look at China. What have they done? They've really used SEZs.
Right.
And that technology in the SEZ filters into domestic market at some time.
Right.
So the large Chinese companies have all been created initially in the SEZs. Apple, you will not believe it, makes its iPads and iPhones in China. There are 100,000 people in China who make these two instruments.
Mr. Vakil, the common refrain that we're hearing ever since the budget has come out is that, especially from corporate India, is that they want to read the finer print. Would you want to explain on that? Why do you feel the figure of 5.2, which is the fiscal deficit, which the finance minister said he'll want to bring down to 4.8? Is there a question mark that is being raised at this point by corporate India?
Yes, in fact, some of these items were covered so fast that unless we really go behind them and understand what is intended, take the pass-through provision that he talked about for the real estate funds, or he talked about the funds or the debt funds. Unless we really sit down and understand how they're going to benefit, and there could be a huge amount of benefit coming out of that, because there was a huge confusion already prevailing on that subject. So I think there are those fine prints which need to be analyzed, studied, before we really come to any conclusion.
So are you feeling good about it or not? I think let's ask the bottom line question.
I do feel overall that he's tried to do a good job within the constraints that he had, but also it's a missed opportunity.
Could it have been worse? I think that if people were expecting worse.
People were expecting a huge increase in taxes, because there was a lot of discussion about the GDP tax ratio. People thought the taxes will go up because you can't do anything to the GDP, and those kind of things have been that's a positive side.
Okay.
All right, Rahul, it seems a hesitant kind of a thumbs up for the finance minister here from Mumbai. Back
Thank
to
you very much, Maruk and Govinda. We're going to come back to you in just a moment.